Hello everyone, my name is Artiso and today we're going to be looking at some Immortal Gates of Pyre pre-alpha gameplay. And I played this game a couple of days ago versus another one of our play testers. His name is Panda. He is pretty decent at the game. So we played this game and I thought it was really cool, so I thought I would show you guys. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to build a Legion Hall, and I'm going to be doing something of a little greedier of a build today. And so what this means is we're going to be trying to get ourselves lots of all three resources as early as possible, as safe as possible. So in order to do that, we need to get alloy, ether, and then pyre. So alloy is your kind of basic resource that you get from your workers that are mining. Alloy, ether is your more secondary resource. It requires a bit of investment to get, but it's not too bad. And then Pyre is your most interesting resource. So we're going to be getting some Pyre from pulling that camp into our tower and then getting the Pyre once the creeps are all gone. And while we do that, we want to get an expansion so that way we can have more resources. And most importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to take this Pyre and we're going to build a tower with it. And so this tower that's standing out here that I'm pulling these creeps into, we can build these by using Pyre. And for when these creeps die, we should be able to build a tower right outside of this expansion we're going to take. So now I have some units that I built with my Legion Hall, so I'm going to send them out here in order to get us some more Pyre. Here we go. And then we're going to grab ourselves some ether. And while we get that ether, we're going to take these, we're going to find this. And so, in the early game, you get units out decently early, and you get to go walk around the map and do things with them. You're going to build a second Legion Hall so you can get more units, so you have the money to do so. And so then I notice that Panda is trying to take his own camp. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go and test that a little bit. Here in just a second. There we go. There we go. So once this creep dies, the Pyre will spawn in the camp. So therefore, he's not going to kill this creep yet. Because he doesn't want me to steal his Pyre. He wants to get me off of this camp such that he will be able to take the Pyre once that creep dies. So we have a little bit of posturing here, and he's going to punch me a little bit, but ultimately, Zentari are a little bit tankier than Safari, a little lackier, and therefore I should be able to get this Pyre. So, the reason I have Zentari as my tier 1 alloy unit, and he has Sipari, is because we are playing two different immortals. An immortal in this game is a godlike commander that stands over the battlefield, observes it, and has these things called vanguards. They replace your traditional faction units. And so Orzum, the commander I'm playing right now, has Zentari instead of Sipari, while he's playing Ajari, who has just regular Sipari, has other Vanguard units. Which, for the record, are not in the game yet, so we're not going to quite be seeing those today, but we'll be seeing Zentari today. So, one thing that Orzum can do with Pyre is he can upgrade towers to become much stronger. They'll have more HP and they'll have an AoE attack. And so then we just built an Angelarium, started one, and Angelarium is kind of like a starport if you play Terran in StarCraft 2, and it lets you build flying units. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of harass here. soon with that Angelarium. You can get yourself some more Pyre, and we're gonna build some towers so that way we have vision, which is another thing that towers are really good for, is making sure that you know what's happening around the map. And so therefore they're a very good way of maintaining map control, mostly just because, well, you can see around them. So I'll just take some more Pyre here. Pyre is really a key resource in Immortal. And what you can see here, we had Zentari, but now we have Zentari and we have a couple more units. We have 3 Dervish and we have 1 Magi. And now the Dervish is a ranged unit and the Magi is a bit of a support unit. And it's a support unit that gives Hallowed Ground. Hallowed Ground gives us different buffs depending on the unit. And so the Dervish, when it blinks into Hallowed Ground, will regenerate all of its shields. Not blink, sorry, wind steps. It's kind of like a blink, kind of like a stalker from StarCraft 2, but instead, it's wind step. And so the Zentari under Hallowed Ground has a ranged attack, where it used to have a melee attack. So this is the neat thing, is that Orzum can drop Pillars of the Heaven, which is this big monument you can see there to the right. And that monument it does 2 things. 1, it gives hollow ground. 2, when you drop it, if it hits your enemy, well, having a pillar go through your enemy's army is, you'd imagine it would do considerable damage. So it does do that. And then 3rd, it gives you a bit of an attack speed bonus. So we're going to deal with some harassment by Zephyrs here. And looks like they got a couple notes, but that happens. And then we're going to take our wardens that we built out of our Angelarium, and we're going to go harass with these, try and get a little bit of damage done. Maybe posturing out here. Maybe, if he's out of position, I wanted to take this Pyre, but I think the better play would have been to go to the tower. Punch the tower. With these Absolvers, and make him come and fight me. So, our wardens are sitting up here, and we're going to go look for an expansion with them. As you can see, if you look, you'll see that there's 6 moats, 6 workers sitting at an expansion. And this means that killing them has a significant effect, but it also means that recovering from harass doesn't take nearly as long. I'm going to run in here with with 2 Pyre abilities that Orzum can cast. First one is Infuse Troops, which gives us a 50% damage reduction and gives us a speed boost. And then we also dropped a Pillar of the Heavens to help us fight on top of his army. And so we do okay here. We get the tower, and towers take a little while to build, so it was okay. And then we had a decent trade. I think he came out slightly ahead on the Pyre, though. However, as a result of us taking that engagement, we are able to get that Pyre camp there in the center. While we do this, we poke in and out with our wardens, constantly see if he has defenses. And so what I'm thinking here is, I'm like, he has 2 Dervish defending against these wardens. And so therefore, if I build more wardens, and I add them to that group up there, I should be able to overcome his harassment defense. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send these back to heal. One interesting thing about towers is that when your units have been out of combat for about 10 seconds, you can send them back to a tower and they will heal up, which means that units, even after they take damage, can be healed up and they can still be useful. So now you can see here these coffin-like units are called howlers, and they're kind of like a big long-range siege unit. And they're not so good in a direct engagement, but they can chip away at your army over time if you're not careful, so you have to really look out for those. So I have 4 wardens, and I'm going to go poke in here. Let's see what I can get done. It's 2 towers, so you can see me here. However, he has some units defending here, so I miss micro a little bit. I don't quite get them. So I end up losing some wardens. I get like 1 moat, but overall this wasn't really worth it. I just needed to leave the moment I saw he had Dervish here. Because Dervish plus towers are pretty scary. So those giant units you can see over there, those are called thrones. Thrones are kind of like a carrier from StarCraft 2. They're giant, scary, you do a ton of damage, but they're also extremely expensive. And they have an ability which lets you use all of those swords that are floating around them in order to deal damage in a small AoE. And so, however, that it comes at the cost of one of their attacks. A bit more harassment done with his warden. Get some more Pyre here. Checking my towers, thinking about expanding again. It's core gameplay loop with an RTS. This is what we want to do, is we want to make this nice and accessible for everyone, while still keeping the skill cap. What I've been doing with the harassing here is just it's just the surface of the kind of engagements and harassment you can do and cross-map the stuff you can have going on. So you see I have a big army here, but in the future, once I am more skilled at the game, I should be able to be splitting this up a little more, finding more damage, and being able to do more with this. Spray on my army a little bit, so that way he can engage into that choke point for that surface area advantage. We're going to transfer some moats to our new expansion. And what this does is it makes it such that I'm able to build more moats immediately. Like, we're able to build more moats at a time. One Acropolis can only build 1 moat at a time. Sorry, the hiccups. 2 Acropolis can build 2 moats at a time. So if I transfer moats, we'll reach saturation faster. So he makes a little bit of a mistake here. I'm trying to engage into my army like that, and so he loses a couple Zephyrs, but he does get the Pyre for it. Could come into play later. Try and blink forward to just get that 1 Dervish, but I didn't quite select the right number of Dervish. It could have been Dervish that I got, an extra Dervish that I got, but I didn't quite get it. Unit retention in Immortal is something that you can spend a lot of APM on. As you can see, that 1 Dervish that I hit in his army, it was really relatively low health, but what you can do is you can spend APM and you can micro that back to a tower and heal it up. And you can do that all the time while you're fighting. So you can get more and more and more value out of your units. So I split off 4 Dervish to take this camp, and then since he had some Dervish up at his expansion earlier, when I tried to harass with the Wardens, I figured, you know what, maybe if I take 4 Dervish, I can take them, and I can go and overpower his 2 or 3 Dervish that he has sitting in that expansion. So I'm sending them up there. So then I also have Wardens. Hopefully we can get some more harass done here. So we take these, we wind step them into his mineral line, and we drop a pillar. And this pillar, as you can see, just obliterates a mineral line when it lands on it. And so the counterplay to this would just be, well, moving his moats over to that tower, and then just letting the tower fight. He didn't have to take the damage here, but unfortunately, he wasn't paying attention. And that's really the kind of thing that we want to reward in Immortal is when you are doing things and your opponent doesn't have enough attention to deal with them. And so, because he has to go send his main army in order to go deal with those dervish that overpower his dervish, I'm able to walk in here, harass this base, and harass and kill this base as well with my army of thrones. As a result, he's taking a lot of economic damage just from that one play. I got 2 lines of moats. I got an expansion. So that drastically cut in. So that flashlight you just saw there was Ajari's Deliver from Evil. It's kind of like a mass recall that helps your unit, that will save your units from when they're in a sticky situation. The cool thing about it, that's different from mass recall, like you'd see in StarCraft 2, is that units can still fight while they're being recalled, and they get extra shields. So every time he does that, and he's fighting me and then he recalls, he's actually getting more value out of his units because of the extra shields. Because I'm hitting shields that just won't be there in the future. And so, one interesting thing you can see here is that expansions can be upgraded. Instead of having to manually build all the workers, you just upgrade them. May have mentioned that before, I don't remember. Yeah, and I forget to get that pyre there. We're going to keep the harassment here. Harassment, posturing, and hopefully finding a way into our enemy's defenses. So he has Dervish over there, and so therefore the wardens, I would need more than just the one warden in order to deal with it. So he does the recall here, and this right here is a castigator that you just saw right here. And the castigator is going to be your ground to air denial unit. So it's going to have a lot of range, and it's going to hit things in the air very, very hard. In the future, it should have an AoE, and this makes it such that stuff like mass carrier, like meaning mass throne in this case, won't be nearly so much of a problem as it is in other games, where once you reach the maximum amount of a large number of units, you can end up having issues where you're just incapable of fighting them with a ground army, and you have to have an air army as well. I'm going to take these wardens, have them heal up, and then we're going to go see if we can do some more harassment with them. In Immortal, you just want to be constantly harassing, because if you can tax your opponent's attention, well, then you can make them make mistakes. Like this. I get a free tower here. And now there's wardens in his line. So one really interesting thing about wardens is they have that flash of light you saw. That is the warden's judgment ability, and what it does is it slows units that are hit by it, and then amplifies the damage that they take by 50%, meaning that wardens can go from killing a moat in 2 shots to killing it in 1 shot. And he's taking a fight here. He used the recall in order to get extra value, but no, I'm just gonna back off. He can, because I got extra harassment damage done during all of that. So now he's gonna have to go deal with that somehow, or else he's just gonna lose that Acropolis to a harassment group. And so one interesting thing just about all this, like when you saw the killer play before, is that Pyre comes from map control in some regard. It comes from fighting your opponent, having map control. And you can then take that and you can use it in order to make groups of units that would normally just be easy to defend against much more powerful than they currently are in some way. You can have unique effects that change unit interactions in a specific area. And so this means that you have different ways in order to convert that advantage. So now those wardens are a bit blocked off. So instead, what I'm going to do here, as I was thinking about it, I'm gonna go, you know what? I'm gonna move my wardens down and around instead. He's gonna come over here, but I'm gonna move my army here soon up to where that harassment defense is, and I'm gonna trade places with my wardens. And what this means is that all his units are gonna be in the same spot, and my wardens will be able to get damage done here soon. 4 dervish is too much, so I confirm that they're still there, and then I go all the way around the map. Radar expansion. Make another one. Here we go. Now, this army of drones. And I'm going to be punching this Acropolis. It's half health because of the harassment we did earlier. So that's even more economic damage. And due to Judgment here, what we're going to do is we're just going to throw Judgment on these Dervish, and it's going to make sure that they're going to take extra damage, and our Wardens are going to be able to push through this harassment defense group. You can see there's a lot of motes mining here. So you can see, as I mentioned before, he's wind-stepping those Dervish backwards into hallowed ground in order to get value, in order to regenerate those shields. You're going to be getting yourselves some more Pyre. We have 188 Pyre right now, and we're looking to take an engagement here sometime soon. However, as you can see, he likes to recall, and when you're in a bad sticky situation as a Jerry, you can just recall out of it. You can do this without too much trouble. However, it costs a lot of Pyre to do that. It costs 125 Pyre. So therefore, whenever I cause him to do that, I'm getting ahead in Pyre. Whereas Pillar of the Heavens costs 100. Infused troops, still getting the terminology here myself, it costs 75. Every Immortal has access to infused troops, but not every Immortal has access to Pillar of the Heavens or Recall, and that's really just the special ability. Additionally, every Immortal has a passive that affects the battlefield in some way. We get some more harassment done here, and so these giant floating balls are called Sharu. What they do is they have 2 abilities. One of them, you can see the giant laser beam, is called Ostrike. Ostrike does a ton of damage to units in an AoE, and while it doesn't stun now, it will stun later. And then the second ability is kind of like, it's called Tempest. And Tempest does damage to units in an AoE, and it also heals your units. So as you can see, in this situation, we should be reaching GG here soon, as he really doesn't have much economy left. I've been harassing him all game, and this is kind of the last base that he has. Meanwhile, I am on 6 bases. Heal those wardens up. Send them back in here in a minute. And I have drones. He doesn't. So take out this tower. Go harass him a bit more. He can't get that mining base up. Well, I'm just sad. Important thing to note about production buildings is that you do need to protect those too, because those are what give you supply in Immortal. If you don't have production buildings, then you can't build units. It's not quite like you don't have any supply depots or anything like that. You just have production buildings. And so right here we're nearing the end of the game, and harvest a little bit more pyre, and right here GG's called. So that was. I hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know if you would like to see more content like this. Great. Have a good day, everyone.